Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Talking Shit with Deja, where we drop the eye because not only can I talk my shit, but I want you to talk your shit too. Hope you all are doing lovely on this great Wednesday evening. And if you're not catching it on Wednesday, please try to catch it on Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Check me out on those times. But in the event that you're not catching this on Wednesday, I hope you all are doing lovely still, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 in the morning, 3 at night. Wait, that's still in the morning. I was just yelling out stuff. But hope you all are doing lovely. And if you're not doing lovely, I hope your week gets better, or your day starts to look up, or your evening is going to be great and you have the best sleep you ever had in your life. I don't know, but I hope you feel better. Um, so y'all, hope you enjoyed last week and the week before with my little brother. And if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check into episode 41 and episode 42. It was a good conversation to have with my little brother. Can't wait to start incorporating everybody else, but until then, you got me. But yeah, so this week, y'all, this week, I want to talk about conflict resolution because when I was going through the emotional intelligence episode, I realized that, conflict is where the emotional intelligence is needed the most, and that's where people lack it the most. And in dealing with the person I'm dealing with now, conflict is not our strong suit. Like, it's not at all. And so I just wanted to go through, I came across a website because I love websites, y'all. I love learning, and I love coming across information that I can put into practice and everything like that. um but yeah, I came across a website about like different tips to use when you're in conflict and how to get through the conversation as easily as possible, or is non dysfunctional. Is that is that what I'm trying to say? Is non dysfunctional as possible. So yeah, like, honestly, the last time that I tried to resolve conflict with somebody was, I might have had it come up here and there with people, but it never really came up like on a consistent basis, except for with my ex, and that was like 7 years ago. Well, no, like almost 8 years ago now, when I was like a young person trying to learn how to navigate being in a relationship. Now I'm an adult trying to navigate how to date and stuff like that, and I find myself still running into the same things that I did then. It's just with a different person, and the stuff that triggers them and makes them react and all, and vice versa, it's just on a whole nother level. Like I said, when you're in a space where you're cognizant of like all the things that have hurt you and everything like that, you really, I would say that I personally have started running into people that directly correlate to all of the stuff that has been a problem for me in the past. And now that I'm aware that those were things for me in the past, I'm like doing my best to work through the scenarios in my present. And I think that's part of, the growth and evolution and learning about myself, is that all of the stuff that might have laid dormant when I was younger, that I went through with family members or with people around me and everything, now as an adult, it's coming back around. And with all of the stuff that I'm learning and taking in and being more knowledgeable on, I feel like I'm getting the practice. But if you're not in the game with the right people, sometimes that practice can seem so not helpful to say the least. So this person, we've been getting into like a lot of conflict, and when you try to let people know what they're doing to make you feel some type of way or something like that, you communicate how that makes you feel and everything. And then you got to hope and pray they don't take it personally or think that you're trying to attack them, when in reality you're just trying to let them know how that's making you feel. Granted, there's a lot of things within other people around you that may not even be able to change because that's who they are, or it may take time to change. So somewhere inside of you has to work on not being impacted so much by what people in front of you are doing. But it's so hard when the emotions and everything are raw. A lot of the stuff that's coming up for me in this situation, as well as the previous situation, is stuff that I'm just realizing how much of an impact it had on me. So it's like, to have somebody like completely repeating that in front of me right now, it's like the emotions aren't necessarily theirs, all of theirs to bear, or like the responsibility isn't necessarily all theirs to bear, but it feels like it because I'm literally going through the emotions and like communicating it and not holding it in and actually letting it out. And so maybe that doesn't come out the best the first or second or third time around. And then maybe for them, they're doing the same, where they didn't get to, express to people from their past how they were receiving things or how they felt regarding, different situations that were coming up. So now they're in a space where they're advocating from the, or trying or working on advocating for themselves. And that may be conflicting because maybe in the way in which they communicate might not resonate with you, because it's not enough for you to be able to communicate what you need, how people are making you feel and everything. Like, the person in front of you has to be able to take it in and really resonate and understand, so that they can validate your emotions, one, come up with a solution, two, or just show some type of compassion for the situation. Because if you communicate not in the way that they can receive it, it can kind of lead to like, what was all of this for? Like, I let you know what's wrong with me, but because of maybe my tone of voice or my volume or how short I was or whatever, now you can't receive it. And now we're butting heads about that rather than the actual issue. What, like, whether that's like neglect or disrespect or anything like that. We can't even get to the meat and potatoes of the issue because I have to worry about all of the other little things that trigger me. And so we can't even get to the heart of the conflict because we're encompassed by everything else that's going on. So I just want to go through, you know what I came across on the website, some different tips and tricks on how to get through conflict. This is definitely for me as much as it is for y'all for me to be passing it along, because I'm trying to learn and navigate conflict in a healthier way than just explosive and walking away, or avoiding or not addressing it at all, or keeping it up under everything, trying to stack everything else on top of it. Because how you feel ain't going away until you handle it in a healthy way. Unless you get it out in a healthy way, whether that's journaling, having a conversation, you know, yeah, those like having a conversation or talking with someone else or whatever the case may be, unless you get that energy out of your body, it's gonna pop out at some point. It's like there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's weird because also something I'm learning is that people have a hard time pointing out the little things, and I don't think people really understand how important those little things really are to a relationship. Like, a lot of people have been taught that the little things don't matter, that I can deal with the little things. I can suck it up when you're doing this, because why should I be upset about that? Or I can handle it when you do this, because why should I be upset about that? And it's not until that person keeps doing it over and over and over and over again that now it's done compiled on top of each other, and it pops out in the worst way. When sometimes it's okay to address it when it first comes up. Like, it doesn't have to be an attack. It doesn't have to be a shots fired. It can just be simple as letting people know that, hey, you're cutting me off when I try to explain my side. Catch them in the moment, because the moment you let it slide or whatever, and then it keeps happening, you're going to only feel like that person doesn't care about how you feel, or you end up feeling slighted. Because in my situation, like, the dude says that he puts a lot of stuff to the side, but I basically call him out on every little thing. And it's like, shoot, I'd rather call you out on those little things now, because I'm not going to be able to put up with it like consistently, like, as time goes on. Like, there's no way. If it bothers me now, imagine if you keep doing it over and over and over again. Like, I'm only going to feel like I'm not advocating for myself. I'm not getting the things that I need. You don't even know what's wrong with me. So I'm probably going to be shutting down, because if you go back to the beginning from episode 1 all the way through those episodes, you will see where, with the guy number 2, I literally wouldn't say what was wrong with me. And I probably did that with guy number 1 too, but I wouldn't say what was wrong with me. But then my whole mood would change, and then I would change the whole atmosphere, because I'm a ball of light. I'm fun, I'm energetic, I'm everything. So you can always tell when something's off with me, because I'm no longer that person. So it's like, I'd rather let you know now and advocate for myself, like those little things, so you know that I'm being impacted. A lot of people aren't trying to do things to hurt you on purpose. And so it's best to let people know, when they're doing something that you see as like some sort of disrespect or slighting you or something like that. And again, it doesn't have to be anything to them. It could just be on some, hey, when you use this word, it makes me feel some type of way. Um, I'm just letting you know, you won't necessarily have to change, but I am letting you know that it is going to make me show up a certain type of way when you do this. Like, and go from there. And then I think, like I mentioned before, that's how you figure out who genuinely wants to rock with you. Because if it's on some, okay, you know what, I'll actually think about that, when I'm going through these moments and I'm doing that, I'll try and catch myself, or I'll work on catching myself before, I continuously do that thing that's, triggering you. Because that, nobody wants to hurt anybody intentionally, especially those that they care about. But they have to know what they're doing that is bothering you, so that they can even, go about doing something different, or letting you know, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. Like, that really goes against who I am as a person. So then you get to make the decision of, do I want to stay here and figure this out, learn how to cope with it in this situation with this person, or do I want to go to somebody else that they're going to have their own shit that you're going to figure out if you want to cope with it. But, you have the opportunity of whether you're going to stay there with this person and navigate through their shit, or if you're going to move on to another person and figure out what shit you really can take on. So basically, there's 7 different tips and tricks that they mentioned on the website. The first one is directly express your thoughts and feelings. So it says, open the discussion by showing consideration for your loved one's feelings. Next, describe the behavior you'd your partner to change. Oh, you'd want your partner to change in clear detail, and express the feelings you are experiencing, whether you're angry, hurt, irritated, frustrated, or confused. Then ask for a specific change. Finally, ask for agreement at the end. So basically, open up sweet. I'm like, hey, babe, I love that you've been very attentive and everything, checking in on me, making sure I was good all week. But, when you ask me for dinner, you don't necessarily consider what I want. You just tell me what we're going to have for dinner and you pick it up, and you don't really ask me, what I would like. You just kind of make that decision for me. And as much as I love that you're very decisive and all that good jazz, the meals you be picking for me are not stuff that I would eat. So it would be nice if you considered me enough to, reach out to me and, ask me what I would like from the location rather than you just going ahead and picking something for me. But I'm so grateful that you get us something to eat. All that jazz, you gotta shiz it up. But that's an example of like you're letting them know that you're appreciative, you're grateful for the act itself, but they haven't really been getting the thing that you wanted, or they haven't been doing the thing that you needed, or whatever the case may be. That was just an example, but package it nicely. Package it nicely. And I personally don't think I do that. I'm very much so catch you in the moment type of person. So one of the incidents that me and the guy just recently had, we were talking about work or something like that. I'm getting to work, and he said something very short to me, and I was like, "Hey, like, it's like, did I say it's funny? I don't even know how I said it, but." He's been mentioning me having like a softer tone and being more compassionate and, sweeter when I communicate stuff. But then, like, when he communicated something to me, it was very short, very cut-offish, dismissive, and everything. So I was like, you know how you tell me that you want me to be soft and sweet and gentle with my words? Like, you weren't that right then. And that's what I'd be talking about, is that you want me to do something that you don't do yourself, which in listening to it, I mean, definitely could have buttered it up a little bit better or whatever. But again, I'm learning all this stuff newly in the as I go. I'm learning on the job training in the field, sniping, and it's going to either hit or miss. So but it ended up turning into a big conflict, because then it was like, oh, well, I didn't know that was my tone, and da 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 da, then justification and all this other stuff. And it's just like, it wasn't even supposed to go that far, but it ended up going that far. Then, which I'm going to talk about it later, but then other stuff got brought into the situation, like from previous conflicts and stuff like that. So it's just like, there's a way to deliver your feelings or your needs not being met that could possibly mitigate how long that conversation needs to be. But because we're not necessarily taught how to deal with conflict on an everyday basis, you may bring it up. Even for me, I thought that was a cool way to bring it up, but seeing as to how it led to something completely different, then it's just like, is there a different way that I could have delivered that? Is there a way that I could have presented that so that we wouldn't have went all the way down the street, around the corner, up the damn block? Like, there possibly could have been a way, or maybe there couldn't have, and maybe, I don't know. But it's like, you always gotta ask yourself, could I have done something different? Because if you can think of many different ways that you could have approached this situation, then test out all the theories before you say you did what you were supposed to do. Because there's so many different paths to get to every destination that you want to at least take maybe 5 before you say, damn it, I just can't get to this destination. So I think I have to work on my packaging. And I would say probably for both of us is working on our packaging of the conflict. Because you got to think, when you're bringing something bad to somebody, one, they're gonna have a hard time not taking it personally, because they're gonna automatically think that you're trying to blame them and everything like that. And it's just like, no, I'm not trying to put any blame on you or anything like that. I'm just letting you know that your behavior has impacted me. Period, point blank. That's about it. And so when you bring that to somebody to let them know, like, hey, your behavior is, hurting the little kid in me or the adult, like, then now they're just like, well, fuck, that's me. So now I gotta work on changing a part of me, which we all know changing a part of yourself is hard. One day I'm a lose weight, but it's like one day I'm gonna get healthy. One day I'm gonna, consistently work on, my future and study and all this other stuff. But evolving and changing a part of yourself is really hard, because once you're used to a habit, to interrupt that and break it and everything feels so against your nature and so rubbing up against friction like that, you just have a habit of falling back into what you're used to or what you're comfortable with. So it's like, when you bring something to an individual that maybe nobody else, although most of the stuff we bring to people nowadays, because of how old we are, they've heard it before. They've heard it before. Everything that gets brought to me, I've heard it before. People tell me my tone is crazy. People tell me the way that I talk sometimes is crazy. I've heard it all before. But, it's not easy to change those things. One, too, because you stray away from conflict, that you don't even get to practice how to do something different when you're in it, because you stray away from it altogether. Your family tries to stray away from conflict. Your friends try to stray away from conflict. Your romantic partners try to stray away from conflict. So it's like you rarely even get time to practice. So anything that's embedded within you, you kind of are stuck with until you. And this is why I truly think that long-term relationship or marriage is ideal, because you really don't get to work on this stuff until you have somebody day for day in front of you that you keep doing this with, like y'all keep bumping heads, and now you finally get the opportunity to take a pause and like be like, okay, babe, let's try something different, let's do this, let's do that. Like, because without that, you really don't even get to actively work on conflict, because you are always avoiding it. So I think being able to package it is a part, like one of the biggest ways to avoid it from going disrespectful or going to a place where you don't necessarily want it to go. But packaging isn't always the easiest, like, especially when you are feeling some type of way, like hurt or irritated or frustrated or disappointed or anything like that. Like, when you're feeling those things, your packaging ain't necessarily what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, how can I feel better, and this person in front of me, how can I get them to understand they need to make me feel better? And it's like, that's not even their responsibility to make you feel better. It's a part of the support that they're supposed to help support you and feeling better. But it's on you to ultimately get to that destination of feeling better. So if you can think of how to present it to them in the best way possible, I think that would be tremendous. Tremendous. But definitely be direct and straight to the point, especially for women to men, because all the beautiful butterflies and everything, even in the example I probably gave, it was probably a lot more explanation than needed. But with them, some of them, I ain't gonna say all of them, because different people are different, but for some of them, you gotta be straight, direct to the point, because they can get lost in the sauce. The attention span probably is, especially if they're a man that's handling so much, they'll probably lose, like, you trying to be over here trying to butter him up and all this other stuff, and in my opinion, when I'm thinking about it, like if they do get annoyed by that, that's crazy. If you over trying to sweet talk him and all this, but I would say probably get to the point as soon as possible so that you can come up with the resolution too. Because that's another thing too that I see a lot with what men are saying online is that they like to hurry up and solve the problem. So if you can hurry up and get to the point, then that will probably be like the best. So the next thing is don't blame your partner. So it says avoid the blame game. It's better to respond with I feel statements that keep the focus on the issue at hand. Oh, this is so important. And I think this is where me and him bump heads a lot, is because he won't necessarily say I feel a lot of the times. He'll just be like, you don't listen to me, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't da 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 da. And I'm just like, don't tell me. I get very combative, but that's honestly what you do when somebody's telling you like a definitive statement rather than them saying I feel. Because when you say I feel, it takes the onus onto you, and then that's left up to your own interpretation. So when you say I feel, whether the other person did whatever you're saying or not, you'll never necessarily, what am I trying to say? You'll never be wrong or right because you're saying your interpretation of what is going on. So, and I get that sometimes he says, I feel, but more often than not, he don't say it. And it really makes me combative because it's like, yo, when you say you're not listening, I know I'm listening. I can like regurgitate everything you just said. I can pass it back to you. I can also, I could do that. So for you to be like, oh, you're not listening, that's wrong. So it's like, but if you say, I feel like you're not listening, then that kind of gives you a way into asking questions about, okay, why do you feel like I'm not listening? Like, what gives you the conclusion that I'm not listening? Like, and so I actually was able to learn that I don't think I asked, why do you think I'm not listening? But I finally got a reasoning behind why he says those things. And it's like, okay, well, when you want to take a breath when you want to take a moment from the situation, when you want to leave and go calm down and everything, to me it feels like you just don't want to hear my side. Like it feels like you just want to stop it and everything. Like then you can get to some understanding, because then you could be like, well, when I need those moments, it's not to stop listening to you, it's so that I can clear my head and come back to the conversation with a clear mind, so that I'm not attacking you off of feelings. Because people are right, women do lead off of feelings, and if you're gonna get me in the most clear mind, you're gonna want me out of the situation for a little bit. Like allow me to go woo-saw, whether that's talk to my mom, listen to music, do something fun, or whatever it is. Allow me a moment to go woo-saw, because as long as I sit in this moment with these emotions, it's gonna tumble down real quick, and then we're not gonna get anything solved. All it is going to cause it to explode, because we're both learning how to do this communication thing. So that means you're saying things that's like triggering me, making me feel like I got to get on the defense. And then when I get on the fence, now my tone is starting to raise, and men don't like to be yelled at and all this other stuff. So it's like now we're just fighting each other rather than, just allowing a space to take a chill pill. But it's like when you stick to those I feel statements, you really give an opportunity for understanding if that person cares about you. Because sometimes you could be like, I could feel this, and they could be like, well, that's your feelings. I think if I got that, I think I would lose my shit. I'm glad I'm glad I've never gotten that. But it gives you a chance for like y'all to start going into depth about, okay, why are you feeling that? Like, what am I doing to make you feel that way? Like, what is going on to make you feel like I'm emasculating you or I'm demeaning you or whatever the case may be? Because too, like, a lot of times, although you might have heard a lot of this stuff repeated, people might have not gone into depth with you about what it is exactly that you do to make them feel this type of way. And so it gives you more clarity, more insight. And now it also gives the person in front of you more things that they could possibly catch themselves before they end up doing it. Versus if you just say, I feel like you don't listen to me, and I'm just like, um, well, what causes you to feel that way? And you're just like, I just feel like you don't listen to me. Then I'm gonna be like, well, in my mind, I do listen to you, so I don't know what's going on. Versus if when I ask like, what makes you feel that way, you're like, when your body language changes, or when you're rolling your eyes, or when you're making faces, and all this other stuff. Like, I'm starting to get that now, or I got it in the last conversation that we had, but previously I didn't get that. I would get told that I'm doing something, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I don't even, it's not even equating. And it's like, okay, you would make comments about, my body language or stuff like that, but you're not correlating it. So you're not saying that whenever you're rolling your eyes or you're making these faces that I feel like you're not listening to me. You're just saying, you got to stop doing that because it's making me feel some type of way. Like, you got to be able to put the pieces together so people can be like, oh, okay, so let me be more cognizant of my face, and let me be more cognizant of my body. Let me be more cognizant of how close I am to you versus maybe me getting away from you. Like, let me be more aware of my volume. Let me be more aware of the words that I'm using. Let me be more aware of these things because they equate to you feeling not heard, dismissed, rejected, or whatever the case may be. So it's like, I like the I feels, because if you have the right person in front of you, they're going to want to go deeper to figure out exactly what little things they can work on so that they don't constantly make you feel that way. Because again, anybody that cares about you, they do not want to hurt you. Like, that's not their intentions at all. Their intentions is not to hurt, cause harm, bring harm to you, make you re-traumatize, make you go through the same stuff that you went through when you were younger or with your past people. Like, nobody's trying to do that. But the only way in which they can work on that is if they even know what to work on. Because just saying a broad statement of, you don't listen, but they know they're listening, then it's just like, how do we fix that? So don't blame your partner, needless to say. Stick to one argument at a time, which is so hard, y'all, because a lot of the times in the argument, a lot of the times when you're arguing the same point that you've been arguing for the past few arguments. So it feels like you're getting repetitive. And so you try to stick to this one instance, but then, because see me, I'm the type of person, I like evidence. And low-key, he kind of is that person too, where he likes evidence. So I be having to go back because you did the exact same thing here. It just was a different time and you did a different thing, but the basis of it, the what is causing me to feel some type of way, is the same exact thing. So it's so hard to stay on one argument at a time when you're utilizing other instances to try and help with the conversation. If you have somebody that is okay with you doing that, then do that. But if you can stick to just that one situation, then stick to that one situation. Because even if you're using previous examples, like I just said, it's still the same fundamental thing that is not being worked on. So technically you don't need to bring it up, but for me it helps. I like evidence. I like evidence because on day 1 you did this, on day 15 you did this, on day 34 you did this too. So it's given. Do you care to change it? Like that's the type of person I am. But that might annoy somebody, that might trigger somebody, that you're holding account over them, like you're looking for them to do this thing or something like that. So it's like, I get what they're saying. Stick to that one. Stick to that one situation, because baby, oh Lord, the last conversation we just had, everything from the beginning to the now was brought up, and it's just like, I thought we already had a conversation about some of this stuff, and it's like, yeah, stick to one thing at a time. It really doesn't help to hop, jump, and skip all over the place, because now you're trying to tackle different fundamental things about each other. Like when you bring up other situations, and then you're also bringing up the emotions that you felt with that situation too, on top of what you're already feeling. So it's like, try not to compound the energy. Because compounding the energy only makes it more explosive. So stick to one thing if you can, unless you know that the reasons why you're bringing up other instances is just to show that, hey, we've had a conversation about this before, and I feel like I'm being violated again, or this came up last week and I thought that we had a conversation about it. I guess when you're holding them accountable to the situation, maybe you can bring up an instance before, but don't try to bring up too many fundamental things at one time. So if they're suspecting you for cheating, don't bring up that they're also telling you that you disrespect them in conversations or emasculate them or whatever. Like, don't bring up all the other fundamental things, because then it's just going to feel like they're at a standstill, because again, these are traits that are built within these people that they're not doing necessarily on purpose, that now they're just like, fuck, now I gotta change who I am to accommodate you, and it's gonna feel damn near impossible. So if you can stick to one thing at a time, stick to one thing at a time. But it ain't always gonna work out that way, because we don't know no better. We don't know no better. But yes, try to stick to one thing at a time. And then communication is key. And then what are examples of healthy communication? It includes active listening, making eye contact, giving your partner your full attention as they speak, responding appropriately. It's about maintaining a conversational tone and keeping your body language respectful, engaged, and open. And it's the willingness to acknowledge when you're wrong. So we're working on all of that. So I know that when I feel some type of way, you're probably not gonna get eye contact. But that's also because I'm a big baby too. So if I look you in your eyes, I'm be what is it? More inclined to cry, and then people think that you be crying because you're trying to manipulate the situation, when no, I'm just like a big baby, and that's just what I do. Like, so it's like I definitely active listen. I active listen. Now, where I may have a problem is, like, depending on how you're communicating to me, I may have to cut you off to correct some things, which is a problem. So I'm working on it. I'm working on not being so reactive to people's words in the moment. But it's so hard to, wait for them when it feels like they're just over jabbing you the whole time they're talking, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, Dick, you gonna say something nice about me? Like, you just gonna keep poking. Just keep poking. And I gotta sit here and take it all in and not say nothing. I can't correct you. I can't do none of that. I can't have you clear up something. Like, I just gotta sit here and take it in. Like, that's so hard to do. Oh Lord. Giving appropriate response. It depends. So if I feel like it's a genuine, response, well, genuine set of words, then I'm not going to respond passive aggressively or disrespectfully. But it just depends, because it, yeah. I'm telling you, this one right here, working on it, baby. I am working on it because it's hard because everybody's learning how to freshly communicate. Is it some people that probably already are good at it? Yeah, they probably are hidden somewhere or already in relationships though. So all of the people that are left over, we're like literally trying to figure it out the best way, or working to figure it out the best way we know how. And that's going to mean that you're not going to do it perfect every time. And so to try and stay within these bounds are so hard to do when it feels like you're just getting knocked the fuck out. Like, and it's like they're not even intentionally trying to harm you, fight you, or anything like that, but it feels like they're over here just jab, 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 jabbing at you. And to sit there and actively listen and to take it in and be able to repeat and be like, oh, so you're saying that when you feel like, so when I do this, you feel like this. And but I think it's all in the words. Like, people be like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Baby, it's both. It is what you say and it's how you say it. Because some people, and he tries to get away with this a lot, he's very calm, cool, and collected, but he will use the worst pairings of words. And I'm a word girl, right? So honestly, I'm more of, it's what you say, not how you say it. Because you probably can yell it at me and I'll be okay, because that's the family I come from. It's normalized, the yelling and stuff. That's fine with me. But it's the words. To me, I'm a words girl. So I need that sentence to sound grammatically correct for me to even receive it. And for him, he's just like, well, sometimes I'm not going to always say it the best and stuff like that. And for me, that's so hard because you can say that shit and he says it in such a calm, cool, collected tone, but the words he utilized, when you get the definition of the whole sentence, he just said it was some bullshit. So it's so hard because everybody believes it's how you say it, and I think it's both. It's what you say and how you say it. I think more people need to be aware of the centered structure that they put in front of somebody, especially if you want somebody to understand you. Like, regardless of if you can deliver that bitch with a calm tone and you look like the chillest person in the world, if those words that you put together are still bullshit, it's still gonna hit the same whether you yelled it or screamed it or said it, however, like, it's still gonna hit the same. Like, I'm very much so like, if you communicate, babe, you're a fat bitch right now. That, like, it sounded, oh, nice, sweet, straight to the point, but you just insulted me in that same damn sentence. So to me, it's like what you say and how you say it. And I wish that we would preach that more, is that it's definitely what you say and how you say it, because words have definitions. And I think in today's day and age, we forget words have definitions. They also have connotations too, that make, even though it might have a definition, depending on the connotation, it could also dictate how somebody receives that as well. So it's like, you got to be mindful of the connotations of words, of the definitions of words, because regardless of how you deliver it, words are words. And if you're dealing with somebody like me where words mean something, you could rub me the wrong way instantly, and you just sat there and delivered it like you're on a nighttime radio show, like, and it went completely over my head, and now I'm ready to like go back and forth because you didn't formulate the sentence correctly. So that communication is key, is like spot on, because you got to be aware of the person in front of you. And that's another detriment of like being online today, is because so many people generalize everything. And so it means you go into a relationship assuming that the person in front of you, because they're a woman or because they're a man, they're supposed to react a certain way. And it's like, no, learn that person in front of you. Learn how they receive things. Learn how they take in things. Learn how they put out things. Learn like what things really bother them, what doesn't, what is going to trigger them, what's not. Like, you got to learn them, because if you're trying to approach them like everybody else, you're going to possibly run into unnecessary problems, because you look at them and be like, oh, they're a woman, you got to be able to do this, that, and third. When in reality, like I said, you could yell some shit at me and I don't really give a damn. It's the words. Like, I'm a words girl, which is why on the podcast I'm always looking up a definition, or going through the actual websites. I'm a words girl. I like putting words together. Words are, they mean something around here. And so learn the person in front of you. The worst thing you could do is look online and you see all these people say women are this and men are that, and then when you go into the person in front of you and they're trying to show you who they are. And that's another problem too, is if they're doing their best to show you who the fuck they are, and you still put all these labels of everything you've heard on them, like, all you're gonna do is bump heads. Like, learn the person in front of you so that you can communicate with them to the best of your abilities, and vice versa. Like, they should be willing to learn you just as much as you are willing to learn them, so that y'all can communicate to the best of your abilities. Because the moment that you try to generalize them and put everybody else's shit on them, you're going to be missing each other all the time, and it's just going to be friction and y'all bumping heads and everything. Like, just learn the person in front of you. Yeah, communication is key. And then acknowledging when you're wrong. For him, he wants me to acknowledge when I'm wrong in the moment. And sometimes while I'm in the emotion, and I think for a lot of women, while they're in the emotion, they're not gonna see exactly where the wrong is until they're out of the emotion. Then they're like, okay, could I have handled this better? Could I have did that? Could I have did this? Whatever the case may be. And also too, the men on the other side too, like, I think us as women, and what I be trying to tell him is like, yo, I would be so much more willing to admit my wrongs in the moment if you can just acknowledge why I even did what I did. Like, can you even acknowledge like why I didn't do this, or can you even acknowledge why this didn't happen, like why I might have did this or why I might have did that? Like, yeah, I get maybe the way in which I reacted was not the best, but can you even acknowledge the reasoning why, or how we got here? Because if you can't do that, then it's going to take for me to come out of my emotions to go off and be like, okay, whatever, I can come back and I can take responsibility and I can apologize. Because if you're not going to acknowledge me in that moment, because it takes two to combat, right? It takes two to combat. So if men really could just be in the moment where it's like, just acknowledge her side, her feelings, like even if she's flat out wrong, just acknowledge that you understand how she got to that conclusion, so that because if the goal is you want her to acknowledge that she did something wrong, because most of the time I know when I be in the wrong. Like and I'm sure that's the same for a lot of women. Most of the time we know when we be in the wrong. But like, can you at least acknowledge how we got to maybe a raised voice, or how we got to this reaction, or how we even got to this? Like, can you at least acknowledge and be like, babe, I understand like how you got there, or like, I understand that this made you feel some type of way, but it's not okay for you to blah 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 blah. And then she could be like, you know what, you're right, I shouldn't have gotten there, it was unacceptable, and I will work on that. If you acknowledge in the moment like how she even got to where she got. Like, I'm sure a lot more men would get I'm wrongs in the moment. But when you don't acknowledge her side, if you thinking she gonna acknowledge your side in that moment, cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. She may. She may, but cut it out. It's gonna take her for her to go calm down, relax, then come back and be like, you know what, babe, you're right. But in that moment, if that's the result you're looking for, acknowledge her side. Just acknowledge it. Just validate her. Validation will get you far in life. Validate her, and I bet you get her to admit she was wrong in the situation. Just validate her, and she will admit, you know what, babe, you're right. I shouldn't have called you. You know that I shouldn't have did that. I really shouldn't have. That was low for me to do. That was inappropriate for me to do. Just validate the feeling, not the behavior. And I think that's where men get it wrong, is they think that we want them to validate the behavior. Like, no, validate the feeling. If you validate my feelings, then I will admit that the behavior was wrong. And even vice versa. But I know this is probably true for a lot more women than men. But it's like, validate my feelings and I will invalidate the behavior all the time. Because I get the behavior is incorrect, but my feelings are not. And so just validate and reassure me that, my feelings were not considered in that moment, or I was not taken into consideration, or you understand how I got there. And then I'll be like, you know what, dang, I really shouldn't have, got loud with you. I really shouldn't have did that because that was inappropriate. I really shouldn't have did that. Like, you will get a softer woman when you validate her. That's some tips and tricks for y'all. Some tips and tricks for y'all. Stay open-minded. And instead, couples need to set their egos aside and remain objective, considering both sides of the coin without bias or personal gain. Facts, y'all. Like, something I learned is that from watching everybody that I've watched online about relationship stuff, is it's us against the problem, not us against each other. Like, legit, it's us against the problem, not us against each other. And as long as you have that open-mindedness that I could be wrong, you could be wrong, the situation could have been misconstrued, we can agree to disagree, all that good stuff. Like, if you have the mindset that it's us against the problem, you're willing to do anything to get to the resolution. You're willing to do anything to get to a better space. Like, you're willing to do anything to not continue bumping heads. So it's like, have that view of it's us against the problem. It's us against the behavior. Because again, it's the behaviors that are making everybody nerves bad. It's not even just the person themselves, it's the behavior. So if we can separate ourselves from the behaviors that are taking place, then we can say it's us against the behavior, or it's us against the problem, it's us against the world. So keep that open mind so that you can get through, as quick as possible without feeling like you have to attack each other just to get to a resolution, or more of the responsibility is on somebody else than the other. And it's like, we're in this together. If that's the goal, we're in this together. And so it should always be us figuring it out. Even if I was the one that had the behavior, not only do I have to be cognizant of when I'm doing the behavior, but hold me accountable. Like, it's as much as your responsibility as it is mine, because we're both impacted by me doing this behavior. You get upset, I get upset, and now we're both impacted by this behavior. So not only do I have to be cognizant of when I do the behavior, but you have to be, confident enough to hold me to fixing it too. So we take it on together, so that it's never us against each other. It's always us against whatever the problem is. And then, yeah, egos just gotta be put aside. Like, stop trying to be right and wrong. Stop trying to win. Stop trying to Because, ultimately, when the resolution is there, y'all both are winning. So, and then the right and wrongs, like, it's not helpful to anything for anybody to be right and wrong. Like, I notice a lot, he'll be like, well, you were wrong, you were wrong. And it's just like, what does that help for you to tell me I'm wrong? Because in my mind, I feel like I'm right. So now we're arguing like that, the semantics. Like, we're arguing that when it's just like, put the egos to the side and come together as a unit for, the situation to be resolved. 6 is don't sweat the small stuff, which I disagree with. I wholeheartedly, I don't think it's nothing you should fester on. I don't think it's nothing that should, ruin your whole day. But I do think those small things add up. I think that's why a lot of people end up getting divorced, is because small things add up. You thought maybe him not washing the dish one day after he got done using it, and you just went in there and cleaned up the dishes, wouldn't go bother you. But I'd be damned if that motherfucker did that shit for a whole 5 months, that it done made your fucking nerves bad. So, sorry. Usually it just made my nerves bad, and I ain't even got nobody doing that. But it's just like, don't hurt and bicker and fester on the small things, but definitely let somebody know, like, quickly as possible when you notice that made you feel some type of way. Like, maybe the first or the second time you don't have to necessarily say anything, but definitely that third time that they did that action, let them know before it starts to pile up and now you're holding out on sex, or you're not wanting to be physical, or not necessarily reaching out to them and you normally talk to them throughout the day. Like, whatever you start with holding, because they done been getting on your nerves consistently with the same little thing, let them know. Because maybe it is something maybe you could do yourself. So it's, say if it's like they normally reach out to you but then they stop doing it, maybe you could reach out to them, or you can let them know, like, hey babe, you normally you reach out to me and I love getting those texts, like, and I noticed you stopped doing that. Like, what's been going on? Necessarily, that is a small thing, right? Because you could reach out to them too, but if you're somebody that you like being considered, or there's a big emotion up under that little action, definitely let them know. But yeah, you don't have to fester or turn it into something big, like, or even mention it the first time, but definitely don't let it keep repeating and it's something that's bothering you. I think that's how you end up to dysfunction and chaos in an argument later on. It's because you've been letting it slide and letting it slide and letting it slide, and now all hell done broke loose. So I kind of agree, but I kind of don't. Like, don't sweat it to where it needs to be a big argument, but you can present it in a cutesy way to try to get back. But definitely also don't let it build up to where now you're exploding, and that's not what your intentions are. And then lastly, tip number 7 is assume your partner has good intentions. So yeah, that's the most important part. And I think that sometimes, especially when you're just now dating people and you're getting to know people, it's really hard to know what people's intentions are, because you're at the beginning. Like, you're freshly dating somebody, you're freshly getting to know them, you're freshly doing everything. So sometimes you're not going to know the intentions per se. You're not going to be able to, I mean, technically you do know the intentions. Maybe you already had the conversation that you all are looking for commitment and stuff like that. But even still, sometimes you don't know people's true intentions. So it's like, it's hard to navigate at the beginning. But say you've been 2 years in and you're with somebody, like, trust that, trust that whatever they bring to you, they're not trying to harm you in any way. Trust that whatever they're communicating is really for the benefit of the relationship, and not just some, you don't do this, I'm tired of you not doing this, and it just gonna cause me to da 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 da. Like, instead of thinking that it's on some let me figure out how to get outside the house and go get my needs met, that it's on some, I genuinely want this to be better for us because I know our relationship would be better for it. And if you do this with me 9 times out of 10, you could possibly do this with other people. And so, you know, if I can help you to fix it here, now you can take this skill outside the household, and this is a better skill you have for the long run and everything like that. Because ultimately, a marriage or long-term relationship is preparing you for relationships throughout life, right? Because whatever you can learn and develop in household, it's transferable. So if you have somebody in front of you that genuinely cares about you, they want the best for you, want the best for your relationship, whatever they bring to you is not out of just trying to, you know, always call you out on your shit. It's like, hey, I know that if you work on this, this is not only going to be beneficial for us, but it'd be beneficial for the children. If we have children, it'd be beneficial for your work. If you have a job that's social, like it'll be beneficial in the long run. So I always think that the person in front of you has good intentions when they're bringing stuff to you, because we're not out here trying to hurt each other, I don't think. But again, we don't deal with conflict. Like, our conflict has always been very, if you come from like a dysfunctional household, for us, our conflict can get, well, not for me, but from my family, our conflict can get so bad that people ready to fight. So it's like we really try to stay away from it because it'll literally go from 0 to 100 real quick. So you don't find yourself trying to do it too much when you get in relationship to somebody. So then when you get to a space where you know what bothers you and you're okay advocating for yourself and everything like that, like, you're not going to always do it the best because you're just learning. But, you know, if you have set your intentions with the person in front of you and y'all are working towards either like long-term relationship, friendship, whatever it may be, it doesn't even have to be just romantic, you know, trust that that person has your best interest at heart. So if they're letting you know something is off, or, you know, bringing something to your attention, like, it's not being on some you're a trash ass person type of thing. It's like, I know this would be beneficial for our relationship as well as everybody else. So, but yeah, that's my spiel. Like, y'all, conflict resolution is not easy, and I don't think it will ever be easy, just because when you're letting somebody know what's wrong with them, that's like the core of who they are. So now they have to question, like, okay, am I right or wrong? Like, you're questioning everything about yourself when somebody brings something to your attention. Like, am I ready to change this? Do I even think I can change this? Like, you just start making them ask a whole bunch of questions that it's easier to get defensive than for them to actually just take it into account. Like, hey, this really could make me a better person, a better human. So it's not going to be easy, but you should definitely do it. I think putting yourself into uncomfortable situations is always going to be the best way to grow. You can't grow in comfort, unfortunately. I mean, you can grow. Look at, I done got real big. You can grow in comfort, but it's not going to be healthy in the way in which you're growing. So, you know, definitely put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you can grow in a healthy way. It's going to be the best for you. So do the hard thing, have that hard conversation, bring up your needs and see how to navigate it with the person that says they care about you. And then go from there. If it doesn't ever get on the right path, then somewhere inside of you gets to say, maybe you don't care about me as much as I thought you did, or maybe I'm not willing to, you know, have you in my life because I don't think you're going to change this. And that's okay. Everybody's not meant to stay for forever. So yeah, but give grace, because we're all learning how to do this thing called life together, and nobody's going to get 100% correct. So give grace, be patient. Something I've learned in this whole situation is I got zero to little patience for conflict, and so I'll be ready to dip out, but be patient, because we're all learning. We're all learning. But that's it for me, y'all. So like, comment, subscribe, and then definitely stream me on all the podcasts things, because I'm on everyone. And definitely go back and check out other episodes. You can binge watch me. I love saying that I'm binge watchable because I like binge watching stuff, so I'm binge watchable. So definitely binge watch from the beginning, catch up on all things talk your shit. But yeah, I have no idea what I'm talking about next week, so just tune in and you'll see then. But until then, this is Talk Your Shit with Deja, where we drop the I, because not only can I talk my shit, but I want you to talk your shit too. Bye.